Hello, everybody, and welcome back. This is Wander to the Edge. My name is Adam Asher from the Edge of Adventure.
I'm Zan from Where Gals Wander.
Zan, happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday.
Looking great.
Thank you. I'm
You got a new
waiting.
hairdo?
I do. I pulled my bangs down because I'm still trying to do my hair with one hand. So this is
How's the arm? Seriously.
um it's naked. I don't know if I can do that on this show, but it is in fact naked. You could see the scar right there. So yeah, physical
Okay.
therapy, occupational therapy, day by day.
Yeah, I know that's
Yeah.
tough, and I know you're still dealing with some pain. You might not say it, but I know that's there. But yeah, it's great to see that you are on the mend. Great to see you. Great to welcome everybody to this wonderful show. What is this show about, Zan?
Well, we kind of talked about my hair. I think that covers one of the big areas. I do have bangs going on today. We also like to talk about your wardrobe and the campaign that you just finished for over 40 and Fabulous for Best Self magazine um, in Atlanta. And yeah, just want to again comment on your preference for earth tones. But seriously, what the show is really about is friends
I
talking
like
travel.
all of those things, by the way. I like earth tones. I like
Sepia.
attention.
Yeah,
All of these things.
that I know. I wanna see you just rocking, like, the red power tie one time, though. Like, we
Okay.
gotta check that out, yeah.
All right.
So,
We'll check with SEMA, see if that's okay.
I will. Seema, if you're watching, you need to give us the okay on that. Or Jeeves, she offered to take you
Oh, that's true
shopping
too.
when she
We
was
Yep.
on, so, yeah. But this is about friends talking travel, and today we're gonna talk with Bink. His name is Steve. He travels for work, travels with his family, travels for the happiness of pursuit. So, we're going to learn a little bit more about that. And it looks like we're going to talk some baseball. We're going to be bringing in another um, chat around travel and sports and what that's like and what pushes that passion.
He's a great guy, and if you don't already know him, you're going to get to meet him today right here on.
Wander to the edge. Where is he?
Steve. Hang on a second. Steve.
Yes, here I
There
am.
he is. That's called me forgetting what I was doing.
Yeah.
Too many buttons on switches and dials and stuff. Steve, welcome to the program.
Awesome. Happy to be here. Everybody looks great. Zan's got the new bangs. Adam, you've got the button down shirt. And
Yep.
here I am in my comfortable light blue pajamas. So apologizing for my appearance this evening.
Well, it's early Saturday morning, at least where I am. So, we should do this. We should have an episode one day with all of us in our pajamas. That would be super fun. Adam in his little onesie, sepia toned, of course.
With the footies.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Let's do that. These are the little footies that have the traction on the bottom, so you don't
Yeah.
slip and fall.
Your animals.
Right.
Yeah.
When you're running down the stairs to check the stockings on Christmas morning.
Hey, I wear my onesie every Christmas morning. I'm just putting it out there. So,
Well, I
but
am in my pajamas too, but that's sleep in the same shirt. That's all I'm saying.
uh-huh. Anyway, Steve, do we call you Steve or do we call you Bink? What do we do here?
Yeah, my buddies call me Bink. Steve is my God-given name, Stephen Binkley. So all of those work for me, Zan. Thanks for
Okay.
asking.
And those aren't really pajamas. I understand that you work in the medical field. Is that correct?
I do, yeah. So these are surgical scrubs. I spend my day in the OR and assist with procedures with gastroenterologists, colorectal surgeons, pulmonologists for medical devices. Yes.
Okay. And that's a big reason around your travel as well, from what I understand.
It is, yeah. So I benefit certainly from the ability to spend time, across the country, but then I've had some great international assignments. My company has sent me to India and to England and Canada and France and all over Europe. So yeah, nice benefit to be able to do combination work assignment and then some personal and travel time as well.
And you are also friends with a few of the guys here in the Travel Tribe. I know you know Gibby, who we've had on the show, Tom Thrash,
Yes.
also Scott Jones. Have you
Yes.
guys ever had the opportunity? I don't know, because one of the things I know Tom loves to do is meet at the ballparks, do
Yeah.
these tweet up type things. Have you guys ever had a
Yeah.
chance to do that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, living in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, the benefit of a huge airport. So guys are coming through town, and we typically try to get together when they do that. I did meet Scott Jones actually a couple times, once here in Dallas, and then we met out in the Phoenix area. And then Gibby lives here locally in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And then, yeah, Tom has been in as well. We've gone to a Cowboys game, and he'll be in fact, in a few weeks for a Texas Rangers game. Good guys.
Cool. So let's talk sports just for a moment. So you mentioned Gibby being in the area. He's a huge football fan. Do you guys get together, watch the games together, that type of thing?
Yeah, for me, it's baseball. Both of my boys. So I have two boys, and that's the other part of my travel is surrounding club baseball. So you will travel to tournaments all over the country, actually, and then both boys have played college baseball. My youngest is going into a Division I role in East Texas to pitch, and my oldest actually just graduated from the University of Oklahoma and is going into the U.S. Navy and an appointment to go to Coronado Island for SEAL training. So
nice.
We spend a ton of time with our kids in their specific pursuits. But that, of course, as you know, different cities, different opportunities, different places to visit, and love doing that as well.
Well, thank you. On behalf of your son first, I just want to say thank you for his service.
Yes, of course. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Bink, let's get right to it. Why is baseball so awesome?
I love it. So, baseball is, as you know, it's America's sport, right? So one of our pursuits is this idea of visiting every major league ballpark. And that can sometimes present challenges where you can be in Atlanta, for instance, and the Braves are out of town. So 30 ballparks, we've been to 25 of them. And just seeing the game played at a very high level, and I think that's what my boys have strived for excellence in the game. Both boys, I'll be a bragging dad here, all district, both academic and athletic ball players, and have gotten college scholarships to play. So you like seeing those in the sport that are playing at the highest level. And, it's a game of, it's a thinking man's game, right? So it's the pitcher versus the batter and the support of 9 baseball players in the infield and outfield. And it's just one of those things that, sitting back with your family or sitting back with your friends and maybe a cold beverage and a hot dog is just a great way to spend an afternoon or an evening.
And I know it's Zan's turn to ask a follow-up, but I have to follow this theme here.
Yeah. What
is a lesson that you would learn from baseball that you can apply to life? Something that, as kids, in all serious question, like as kids go through the game and they learn the game, they learn the game. What can they apply to life?
100%. It's a great question. And this is the part that I think the boys have grown up in an atmosphere where they're accountable to a team. They're accountable to a coach. They know to show up on time, and they know to compete, right? So, for us, in my role as well, and there's competition, and life is a series of, I guess, competing against your own goals and standards, and then maybe competing against others in your field. So for them, that's what we've taught them. And of course, as you know, that transfers into, in this case, military service. In fact, he's used my words against me. Dad, you've taught me to be part of a team. You've taught me to be something bigger than myself. And now that baseball is over, that's going to be the military for me. So, that's what he's going to pursue. And then my youngest, It has again a bragging dad here, a 93-mile-an-hour fastball and a devastating breaking ball, and had a ton of high school success. Has had some college scouts and plenty of Division I colleges follow him. We're thrilled. We're thrilled for his opportunity, but at the same time, if he comes out of this baseball experience with those kind of character traits, then I know he'll go far in life.
I'm going to let you keep going because baseball, I know you enjoy heading out watching the Braves. Anything else that you wanted to ask about that piece, Adam, before I ask my
I mean, I
less
do love
sophisticated
baseball,
questions?
no, I mean, I do love baseball, and played it as a kid. Those kinds of experiences, they do teach you, yeah, all those things that you've mentioned, being a part of a team, and I think now this isn't really a question, but as I think about baseball, that we each have a job to do, right? And that there's something really very clear about that in baseball. Like you're playing this position, you really can't worry about everybody else. You got to worry about your role, and I suppose that's true in other sports as well. But that would be certainly a lesson that you take from that, right? Is your job is to do your job really well, and then you got to depend on other people to do their part. And when all that comes together, if you're an Atlanta Brave, you get almost to a championship, and then you move on.
Yeah. Well, it's a tough stadium to visit too, Adam, because as you know, the last 20 years, the Braves are on their third stadium, actually similar to the Texas Rangers. So of the 30 stadiums, the Braves, the current stadium, in fact, I have a trip planned Labor Day weekend or the Wednesday after Labor Day to travel up to your neck of the woods. Maybe we can grab one of those beers and hot dogs.
Oh man, yeah, that
Stadium.
would be awesome. I'd love that. Yeah, and there was Atlanta Fulton County Stadium,
Yeah.
which was just kind of an awkward stadium of
Right. Yeah.
of its time.
Yeah.
And I remember going to those. Those would have been the first Braves games that I got to go to. And then, of course, you had Turner Field, which was really a great place to go watch a game. And then the current one they have, Truist Park,
Truist.
as it's now called, it's smaller, but it's also a great park to take into take in a baseball game. So, all right. But I'll ask one other question. When you go and you watch these games, how is it different when you go watch a baseball game versus maybe going to watch a football game? When you go to watch a baseball game, what's the experience?
Yeah, I'm a huge football fan as well. I'm more of a college football fan. I'm a Florida State grad, and we're all struggling right now with the loss of our patriarchal coach, Bobby Bowden. But the man lived a tremendous life and impacted dozens and dozens and hundreds of young men in the sport. And I'm sure being up there, so I'm going to go Labor Day weekend, Florida State, Notre Dame, back to the alma mater in Tallahassee. I'm sure that'll be an incredible experience. There's a different level of passion in college football for me, and you experience a lot of success. The 3 national championships for the Seminoles, and I've seen them play all over the country. But I'm really, really, really looking forward to going back. It's actually a Sunday night game, Labor Day weekend, Florida State, Notre Dame, the opening weekend. So super excited about that. And here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, we have the Cowboys. And as you know, those big mega stadiums and all the atmosphere that goes with that. And, a lot of diehard football fans here locally would wish we'd have less pomp and circumstance and more championships in Dallas. But it is about the show, right? In those cases. And, multi-billion-dollar facility and a multi-billion-dollar franchise. That's it's fun. It's expensive, but it's fun.
Yeah. It's funny because the Dallas Cowboys practice not too far from me up here in California, in Oxnard, which is about half an hour away from me. So that's kind of funny.
A lot cooler there today than it is in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex.
Yes and no. I live in a valley, so it's always about 20 degrees hotter where I am than anywhere else in LA. So I
Yeah.
get that joy. But
They probably have the marine layer there that benefits
yeah,
them. Oxnard, yeah.
yep, yep. But here's the questions I have for you about
Yep.
sports. Okay.
Sure.
Are you ready?
I am.
Are you sure?
I am.
Okay. So when you go and you visit these different stadiums as being part of this travel experience, are there any rituals that you do when you go in the stadium? Like, are there certain things you have to check out? Do you have to try the different foods? Like, tell me a little bit more about that experience.
Yeah, you bet. So both boys have over 100 Major League Baseballs, and that typically is the result of going to batting practice. So kind of positioning yourself, and Dad's out there too with his glove, right? And so I got to be careful not to knock over any little kids because nobody wants to see a 50-year-old man knock over a kid to get a baseball. But the boys love being, I guess, being athletes, even in the stands, standing up there and catching these batting practice home runs. Now, the problem is, the oldest has gone off to college and graduated. The youngest has gone off. Now I have 300 baseballs I don't know what to do with. And nobody wants to take them with to college, of course. So I think I need to put them in a bucket maybe and take them up to the local. But batting practice is fun, right? So the crack of the bat and guys hitting big, mammoth home runs, that's fun to see, kind of the power of the game as well.
That's cool. And do you cheer for whoever the home team is in the stadiums, or are you like particularly loyal to different teams regardless of where you are?
It's actually fun to be neutral, right? Especially as a diehard college football Florida State fan that doesn't handle loss very well in those instances. And then of course you have your favorite players. You typically have a player that you know a little bit about, either on a home or visiting team. So those are the things you focus in on when you travel to new stadiums.
Got it. I only own one baseball t-shirt, and I'm not a big baseball fan, but it's of the Chicago Cubs. That's not too surprising because I used to live in Chicago, but my husband is a huge St. Louis Cardinals fan. So when I'm angry at my husband, I put on the Cubs t-shirt and just wear it around the house to annoy him. That's the only reason that I own it. So that's my knowledge of baseball and where that ends.
That's a huge rivalry, Cubs and Cardinals. And a lot of people, I think Tom included, Thrash, would say, a Saturday afternoon at Wrigley is one of the favorite experiences. Just the old historic ballpark. And it just hasn't been modernized like the Braves or the Texas Rangers, which is fine. We also have a game in air conditioning in the middle of August. But being in Chicago, another example, Red Sox and Fenway, just feeling the history in those old ballparks is incredible.
Yeah, which is now U.S. Cellular, I believe, which seems ridiculous, but that's okay. I still call it the Sears Tower. So,
but it is nice to take in a ball game in an old park and to have to look around one of the support beams.
Right, which is both Fenway and Chicago. Yeah,
if the ball was caught or not. Super stuff. Yeah, the opportunity to go and take in ball games in another park. I haven't been to that many, but the few that I've had the chance to attend, and there is something about it. It is quite different than when you go to your stadium to watch your team hopefully beat whoever's in town. It's a different experience to just be in, some town somewhere and taking a ball game there. It's completely different. So it's awesome.
100%.
Highly recommend it. So let's talk travel as it relates to family. As we listen to you talk and as we know you from your social media account, family is important to you. Tell me how travel and traveling can be good for the family.
Yeah, you bet. So probably similar to Atlanta and Los Angeles. I mean, we have a lot of concrete here, right? So we're not known for our outdoors and nature, but the benefit of the big metropolitan area is a great airport. And so, in fact, we flew direct to Anchorage here a few weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful 6-hour flight on the American Dreamliner and then a red eye back. And so that's a real value to be able to get out quickly to some outdoors and nature. So it's important, right? So, with two boys in school and then a combination of, the baseball and the travel teams, we've really had to kind of very directly hone in on spring break, right? The week of spring break, the 2 weeks at the end of summer baseball, right before the fall semester starts. And then as a family, we typically either pick a Thanksgiving week or a Christmas week to travel. And so those have then centered around great if you can combine a major league ballpark visit and a national park. But we just got back. Actually, my youngest and I took a guy's trip to 4 national parks in Alaska and just had a phenomenal experience, doing guys stuff, big hikes, looking at bears, going fishing. And, as you can imagine, that one-on-one time with your son and outdoors in nature, kind of challenging yourself physically on a couple of big hikes. And then, guys telling stories and fishing, and then, dad trying to impart some wisdom about going off and doing all the things we talked about, being competitive and performing at a high level, both academically and athletically. Those conversations sometimes happen easier in a great scene like Denali National Park.
Yeah. There's the bears. So tell us about your encounter here.
Well, it's funny because my mom actually gave me a little bit of static about, are you protecting my grandson, right? Because you've got these bear pictures. And so this is Katmai National Park. It's difficult to get to. It's, there's 8 national parks in Alaska, and only 4 have, a direct road access. And Katmai and Lake Clark that we visited either require a float plane or a bush plane or some type of, boat access. So when you get there, the benefit is being around people who are very purposely visiting this national park to see these bears. And so Katmai, where these 2 bears you've got here on the screen, is the world's largest congregation of brown bears at this time in the season. And it's like this primordial soup of volcanic ash in a lake, and then this river where millions and millions of salmon are making their way back upstream to spawn. And then the bears stand at the top of that waterfall, and it's a very easy kind of low energy meal for them to stand there at the top of a 3-foot, 4-foot waterfall and basically have these salmon jump into their mouth. And so there was a huge concentration of brown bears. At one point, we counted 42 at the top of the waterfall.
Oh my gosh.
And you're standing, incredible, yeah. Standing on the platform, taking these pictures. But the park it requires a little bit of a walk, and you're sharing the trail with these same bears. So going through a bear class on how to, if a bear, and this has happened to us a couple of times, a bear's coming the other way on the trail, how do you react to that, right? So the bears are expecting you to react a specific way, which is to step off the trail, say, hey, bear, hey, bear. But the challenge is they typically stop and want to smell, right? You can't have any food in your backpack, but they'll stop and look at you, which is a little bit unnerving before they kind of walk on and go about their way, especially a 600-pound bear that's galloping in your direction. That'll get your attention.
I'm assuming that happened to you.
It's amazing. There are bear-specific park rangers to kind of control some of this, but these bear that you're looking at in these pictures wander through the camp and the lodge area, and they're on the same trails, and that's obviously very unique to have that many bear around that many people. But there's it's a long lineage of these bears being around people, so they're nobody's feeding them, hopefully. But they're habituated to people getting out of their way. And then the reality is they're fairly fat, dumb, and happy, right, from all these salmon that they're not typically interested in taking a bite out of you, hopefully. Yeah. But my mom didn't know that, and I still got a lecture about it.
Well, she's worried about the grandson.
Yeah. Not worried about me so much.
Yeah.
So other than Alaska, which obviously seeing these pictures, anytime you see pictures of Alaska, I mean, it's amazing. And it makes you want to go up there so bad. Other than that, what would be some of your favorite adventurous type? I don't know, whether you went with the boys or whatever.
Yeah.
Does anything rival Alaska?
Well, yeah. So the other, we talked, Zan, I think you mentioned the happiness of pursuit and
Mhm.
this idea of, visiting all the national parks. 63 of the big kind of brand name parks. I know some people get a little anxious when you talk about the big 63 and you don't mention the 423 unit sites, which are the presidential birthplaces and the national lake shores, and those are all worthwhile places. But with the activities that I have and my kids and these kind of limited weeks, we decided to hone in on the 63. But even that can be a little bit of a, it's a little bit of a wormhole to fall into, because I mean, there's some very, very remote places. That Katmai and Lake Clark were two. It'll take us a third trip to get to the rest of the 8 parks in Alaska. Gates of the Arctic is one, Kobuk Valley, and those all require a flight in. Obviously, that's comes with some significant expense. But I think you mentioned my Twitter handle. I've got a picture of the active lava at Volcanoes National Park, and truly one of the greatest experiences in the parks system is standing next to, in this case, active lava coming down the hillside, 2,000 degrees, burning up trees, crackling on the rocks. And there's no park ranger to tell you to get out of the way. You're getting ready to die as this lava flows over the cliffside into the Pacific Ocean. That was a real special experience in Volcanoes National Park.
So let me ask you this, because we've had others on talking about the quest or the life goal about visiting all the national parks. And is it that sense of conquering or just achievement to be able to wear that badge? Because I have to be honest with you, I love national parks. I think we've talked in like park chat and that type of thing as well too. I have a huge passion, but if it meant giving up seeing other parts of the world in order to hit that really remote national park in Alaska, I don't know if I would do it. I have to be honest.
No, it's a good point. And that's part of I guess the wormhole that I mentioned, that,
Yeah.
are you going to a place just to go to the place? Of course, when you get there, and this, Sam, these are very, very, very special places.
Yeah.
And they're designated as public lands for a reason, and they're beautiful and they're natural. And you think about, the parks we haven't mentioned, the Grand Canyon and Olympic, and here in Texas, Big Bend National Park. Those are all very special places. So yeah, right. So that part of the the happiness of pursuit is that you're working towards something, right? I always have something
Yeah.
on the calendar. And so in that, you're trying to understand what's next. And there's a certain kind of, I guess, for me at least, really enjoy doing some planning, really enjoy putting a date on the calendar, understanding that we'll have this specific weeks when the boys or the family are available. And that, and that can give you something to be excited about, right? So
Yeah.
whether that's a ballpark or a national park, those are the things that we have tended to gravitate towards.
I love that. And I love just how you phrase it, the happiness of pursuit.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, let's get philosophical then. The happiness of pursuit. I mean, do you ever really arrive?
Great. That's a great philosophical question, right? So, I thought that you and I might speak a little bit about South Africa, and that was a work trip that I took as well. Actually, that was a family trip. The work trip was to India. But when you go to places like that outside the U.S., people ask me, "What did you learn from going to India?" And my typical answer is, I learned you didn't need to have a Cadillac Escalade and a big mortgage to be happy, right? There's some very, very happy people that are happy with their place in life and their friends and their family, maybe without a lot of resources. So, Adam, I understand that's a big passion for you as well on the African continent.
It is, yes, and your opportunity in different ways, both for work and as you've taken these other adventurous and family trips. What a wonderful opportunity you've had. Yeah, I think that lesson that you're referring to is a lesson that I remember being struck by that when I went on these international trips, perhaps the first few that I got to go on, and to kind of get outside your normal. What is your life? Your life is this, and this is what your world looks like, and these are what the stores look like, and this is how people drive and how people act and all that. And that's just your normal. And if that's all you've ever lived, that's all you know. And it's intriguing to get to go to other places where life is in some ways different. And it does help if you're open to it, I think. And a lot of people might not be, but if you're open to it, it does help you realize that some of the things you thought you needed in order to be happy or to feel accomplished, you don't have to have those things. And I think the great thing about travel, internationally or otherwise, is perspective. The perspective it can bring you. And then what you do with that perspective, what you're called to do with that perspective is that's that's not for me to decide. It's different for everybody. But there's something wonderful about knowing and putting your own life and your own normal into perspective.
Yeah.
And certainly on the African continent and the great many organizations doing fantastic things over there. And I've had the chance to feature a few in recent weeks on the podcast over on The Edge of Adventure at theedgeofadventure.com. So I invite anybody who hasn't already checked that out, please do so. That's the other me over at
Yeah,
the
100%. I couldn't agree more, Adam. Very well said.
Yeah.
So and I knew going into this conversation, Bink, you're a guy that values family. We've already established that. I think another important thing is to just congratulate you and say, you've been married for what, 30 years? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
1990 to 2021, 31
Wow.
years.
What's the key to a happy marriage?
Yeah.
The one key, just the one thing that makes it all work.
Man, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I mean, it's a good question. I mean, we're friends, we're buds. It actually brings up a interesting follow-up question, because once we become empty nesters, we've obviously discovered here that we spend a bunch of time doing family and kid-related activities. I mean, that's the next phase, right? So, what does she and I want to do, right? I would like to. Well, I put down a deposit on a Mercedes Sprinter camper van, but I don't know how thrilled she is to jump in a van and go park down by the river, right? Like Tommy Boy reference there.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I mean, that's something I would like to do, and I think we know that she likes the outdoors and nature, but she also has a certain level of comfort. Not really a great camper, so we're going to give it a shot. We'll see how it works out. Maybe we can do a follow up on that, Adam and Zan.
Yes. Yes. It's the opposite in my house. I want the camper van. So that's what I'm working towards. But you can't fit a drum set in a camper van. So.
Yeah, and they're almost impossible to get right now. Year-long wait for the one that I ordered.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you probably can get those drums. Like how many drums are we talking about here?
It's a
Probably
full
get 'em
drum
into a camp.
set in the middle of my living room.
It's the cymbals that are a problem, Adam.
Yeah. 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 COVID and the quarantine has made for an interesting decorating style in my house.
Listen, I think that the last 18 months for all of us, I think if you can get through the last 18 months and still love your family, I mean, you're good.
Great point. Yeah.
You know that, hey, like, what do they say? It's like, I think I'll keep them. But it's been challenging. And of course, now we're what, 2-3 weeks back into school. And depending on the part of the country, I know, but certainly here in the South, kids go back to school first part of August. And I think you guys went back as well, Zan, right?
Yeah,
Anya went back
mid-August, August 10th. Yeah.
Yeah, and but back to Bink and his international travels. Favorite countries?
Yeah, so New Zealand, that was a big trip. Was able to do a bungee jump on the AJ Hackett, the original bridge, where they decided, tying a rubber band to your ankles and jumping off would work. And now they perfected that. So that was pretty incredible. I mean, that just being on the opposite side of the world and then spending some time with the Kiwis, that was a lot of fun. I still go back to the national parks. I mean, it's one thing to travel internationally. Obviously, it's a little more difficult in today's COVID environment. And we all, a lot of us struggled. And I know you guys probably did as well during COVID, and not being able to travel and trying to do some stuff locally. And so, unfortunately, I know my healthcare worker friends and colleagues are again struggling, and praying that we're able to get through the next whatever many months and get back to some level of normal. But it doesn't look so great right now. So, yeah, I mean, you don't take for granted any of it, right? The ability to take a trip to Alaska and go to a foreign country, those things have become very difficult now in today's society, and COVID and this disease we're all battling.
Well, let's talk a little bit about taking advantage of travel while you can. And you mentioned doing a lot of travel for work. I know that when I started traveling, it was for different work meetings and such, like go to Los Angeles, for a 3-hour meeting, even though it took me longer to go to the airport and sit and do all that kind of stuff. And then I started thinking about, okay, I need to squeeze in little things for me. Like the first time I ever saw the Pacific Ocean, I got up at 5 a.m. so I could grab an Uber just to go to the beach, just so I could walk into the ocean to say that I did it, because I'd already been to LA like 8 or 9 times and hadn't even seen the ocean. I just saw the inside of conference rooms. What are some tricks that you use to make sure that you get a little bit of that exploration while you're on business trips? What are some tips you can share?
Yeah, so I always book some time at the end. I know some people like to do personal stuff ahead of the meeting. The meeting is obviously important, and the visits I make with physicians and other healthcare providers across the country are important. So I typically concentrate on that, and then just don't book the return flight home, right, until a couple of days after. Or a lot of times I've flown the family out to a specific place, and that's how we've squeezed in some of these parks and major league parks. So again, it's a priority thing. I guess the company has to have some level of flexibility. In my case, I work for a great company that allows that. But I mean, yeah. So again, that part's important. And in fact, I'll raise my hand for extra type assignments like that, for the ability to spend a couple of extra days on some personal travel.
Great.
So his tip was, don't go home.
Yeah, that's what I heard too.
Just do it. What do you say? Zan, you say wander with bravery, right?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
Yeah, telling your boss that I'm doing the assignment, but I'm also doing some personal, certain level of bravery with that, right?
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah. That is for sure. Huh.
Well, Bink, what's next for you? Of course, you've already alluded to the fact that the mood in the country and the world is one of concern right now.
Yes, it is.
Do you have any plans? I think we talked about Tom, and probably, I don't know if Gibby's getting together with you guys too. I think you've got the get together coming up sometime in the near future.
Yes.
At a Rangers game. But what else?
Right.
What are some of the other things you have to look forward to in the coming weeks or months?
Well, now I need to pin you down because I'm going to be in your backyard in Atlanta,
Okay,
right?
that's true.
That's the Wednesday after Labor Day. I think it's Braves Blue Jays, but I'll confirm with you.
Oh,
Yeah, so the trip to Tallahassee. So I always love to go back to Tallahassee, my old stomping grounds. Go see the guys at the fraternity house. Be the big weekend. Be a lot of ceremony around the passing of Bobby Bowden. And of course, Notre Dame, right? Everybody loves beating the Irish, and they're a top-ranked team, and we're kind of on a rebuilding phase. And I can't wait. It's going to be a big weekend with a couple of buddies, and then catching up with some old friends, of course, and then making our way from Tallahassee to Atlanta. That's an easy drive, right, Adam?
It is. You can.
Yeah.
It's not that far. It's not that far.
College Football Hall of Fame. I haven't seen it. I saw it in South Bend, Indiana. Actually, I have not seen it in Atlanta.
I mean, that would be a great thing to do. And yeah, so I've already wrote that down. The Blue
Can
Jays.
you wear a Brave shirt? Because they're red, right?
Yeah.
Because I would accept that in place of the red power tie. Just,
They're red.
aren't they?
So depending on what uniform, right?
I'm kidding. So mostly they're blue. Mostly you would think of it as blue. Blue would be the primary color. They do have their Sunday uniforms off with the red jersey. So yes, of course, red is secondary color. In the Atlanta as a Atlanta area fan, as a Georgia fan, right? You got the Falcons. That's red and black, and you've got the Bulldogs. And I went to the University of Georgia, and my son went to UGA. My dad went to UGA, so it's kind of a big part of our history. That's also red and black. I mean, that's like red and black in like religious level, right? I mean, it's
for sure.
It's pretty important, and so you've got that, and then the Braves come in with the blue and with some red highlights. But you know what? If I can find a red shirt or jersey or something, I'll see what I can. I'll see if I can make that happen.
And Bink, you have to get a picture.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll like the stadium. I mean, Turner Field was such an experience where it was almost like a theme park approach. It had a lot of different things you could do, including batting cages and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
This is not like that. I mean, it's different, but it's a smaller park, and I think that's been sort of the trend of the last few years. It's a smaller park, but there's not a bad seat in the house, and there's a couple of really good seats up where you can see from the bar. So those are some great seats. We'll have to check those out when you come to town.
I'm down 100%.
I was just going to say, and where are you going to go have a beer? Because I knew that was going to be involved too. And you just combined both at the same time. Yeah.
But see, that's the thing too. Like now they plan these stadiums out such that, so in the old days, part of what was wrong with Atlanta Fulton County Stadium and even Turner Field is there was never any follow-up development that really was built around them. So it was not a destination. You would go and then you'd leave. Like that was basically, you would go to the game and you'd try to just leave. But now people go to what they call the Battery here in Atlanta. Yeah. It's the area around the stadium. People go even if they don't have tickets, and you're just kind of in the atmosphere, and maybe you're just at a restaurant or a bar. So I mean, I think from a standpoint of business, they've capitalized better on that. But the stadium itself is pretty quaint. But anyway, you're going to like it, and I look forward to meeting you in person, Bink.
Well, that's the thing that they love around Cubs games is Wrigleyville, right? All the bars and clubs pre and post game. Same thing around Fenway. It's an atmosphere, and it's a pre and post game thing. And so that's had to been built up also here in Dallas. But it's the big entertainment complex with concerts and, honestly overpriced bars and restaurants that are, kind of have the name of, Troy Aikman. And actually it's a decent restaurant, but and Pudge Rodriguez has a place, and those are fun, but it's kind of hard to replicate that old school tradition of Chicago and Boston.
Yeah.
Yeah. So true. All right, Bink. Well, we're going to put that on the calendar. Otherwise, you're an awesome guy, and it's inspiring to hear your stories, and then just, also see and sense and know how much you love your family, your wife and the boys, and how much you've invested in them and the joy you take in them. That stuff is worth gold, man. That stuff is important. And, kudos for being that kind of a guy. And thanks for taking the time to chat here. Curious to see what the Peanut Gallery has to say.
Yeah.
I'm sure
the Park Chat group, right?
You're going to catch it big time.
You guys have had a bunch of the Park Chat group on.
Yeah.
That's a great community. As Zan, I know you've been involved. That there can be a lot of negativity on social media, and programs like yours are uplifting, and people share positivity and great stories and travel advice. And I know you had Parks and Points and Beth that that, I mean, they're great and they're part of Park Chat. And then that group is special, and you always learn something, but you're always kind of uplifted by people who have a shared kind of sense of, public lands, and a shared sense of, this, happiness of pursuit and trying to go to these parks. And so, yeah, I really enjoy that. I do some recruiting for guest hosts and such, like you guys have done with me and some of the other Park Chat guys, because I've gotten a chance to know and meet a couple of park rangers. Chris McLeod, in fact, a Park Chat guy, spent an entire afternoon with him at Katmai on this trip to Alaska, and was able to, I think you put the picture up, we had a couple of beers in the clubhouse there. So that's cool. I mean, those are special experiences that kind of enhance the whole outdoor nature, spending time with people that have a common kind of sense of adventure and common sense for our public lands. I think that makes it special.
Well, if you ever need a guest host for Park Chat, Adam and I are available. So there you go.
Well, I can guarantee that invitation will come after that comment.
Okay. But, that's
you guys.
I was just going to say, that's why I love doing this, though, is just hearing what motivates people to travel. What's pushing them? What are their goals? What do they get out of it? Because everybody's experience is so different and has its own personal meaning. And yet it's something that we all share. And that's really why we wanted to do this, is to get to bring people together, for this love of travel.
Well, kudos to both of you. And Adam, thank you again for those nice comments about the relationship with family. But I know it's when you asked me to be a part of this, I mean, there are plenty of people that do a lot more outside of my little Twitter account, that have the websites and the blogs. But having a weekly program, I mean, what you guys are doing is special. I couldn't agree more, Zan. You always learn something, and the general positivity around it. But I know it's a lot of work, right? I mean, I'm sure as soon as you get me off, you got to figure, who's next week, right? So that's always a battle.
That's really no big problem for me.
I was going to say, that's not an Adam problem.
It's a Zan problem.
I just let Zan worry about that. But I have to worry about other things. But yes, and thank you for those kind words. I think as I was listening to both of you share and express that concept, it just occurs to me, it's the simple things that mean the most. It's the simple things. And if with all the pressures that you have in life and all the expectations that people have of you and that you have of yourself, to get to go to a national park and to just literally just sort of take in the beauty of the landscape. I mean, just stop it with all the pressure and the tasks and all of those things. Just, what? I'm here for a moment, and you just take it in. And it's a simple thing, but there are a lot of people who take joy in that, and to be a part of that community, to get to meet people who, in their own way, everybody's got their own style, but they all really just love the simple pleasure of being outside, getting to travel, getting to experience culture.
Yeah.
And it's pretty special. And to get to be a part of it and to get to do this is a very special privilege.
Well, this is a dedicated hour to do exactly that. And I think you guys have talked about focus, and the challenge is when you're at work and you're worried about family, or when you're with your family and you're worried about work. I mean, that's a bad situation. But if you're standing in a national park on a trail, looking at an incredible scenery, I mean, I wasn't thinking about work, right? So I was mostly thinking about how am I going to keep up with this 18-year-old? Is he going to have enough patience to wait for his tired old dad? But once I caught up to him, we were able to have a great chat and talk about all kinds of great things that you wouldn't have otherwise. Exactly right. After school, trying to grab, a bite to eat before going to practice. So 100% right, Adam.
Yeah.
It's making space for those things that matter. And another where gals wander thing, there's more to life. There's more to life than just going to work and running from place to place. Sometimes it's about the standing still.
No question.
Indeed. Steve Binkley.
And wandering with bravery, Zan.
Yes.
Yeah, you do have to be brave. This has been great to get to know Steve Binkley today. If you're his friend, though, you call him Bink.
That's right.
Yes.
You call him Bink. And
I expect
you're
you
an
guys
awesome
to
guy.
call me Bink, please.
Will do,
From here
Bink.
forward.
And truly an awesome guy, and great to get to spend this almost hour chit chatting. There's so much more to say, but appreciate your time and spreading the positivity in a time where we are all struggling
Yeah.
to keep the negativity from getting in, because there's so much bad news, and it's all this stuff out here on the outside, and it's tough to keep it from getting in. And um, stuff like your Twitter account helps to keep it positive, and it's important. So thanks, Bink. I'm sure we'll be talking to you again soon.
Loved it. Thanks, Adam. Thanks, Zan.
You're
Really enjoyed
very
the time.
welcome. Yep. And join us next week with myself and with Adam and all his monochromatic clothing right here on Wander to the Edge.